Of course, it's challenging to deal with economic coercion from the United States, but at the same time, security alliance is solid. Before the Trump administration took office, I expected that the United States would strongly push allies and partners to take on more responsibility for their own defense. So candidate Trump had repeatedly questioned why the United States should bear such a large burden and expressed a strong sense of unfairness. Some advisors close to him, especially known as prioritizers like Senator J.D. Vance, had argued that the United States should focus first and foremost on the threat from China. It was still unclear how much their views would shape actual policy, but whether or not, I believe that the new administration would emphasize that allies need to take more responsibility for their own security, especially in the face of China's growing power. It seemed that the Japanese government took steps to prepare for the potential Trump administration. It gathered information and built connections with the Trump camp. Of course, the Japanese government as a whole is in the very difficult position, of course, to deal with the economic kind of coercion from the Trump administration. But at the same time, we have common security problems, that is China. Of course, it's challenging to deal with economic coercion from the United States, even its allied partner. But at the same time, security alliance is solid. United States is stepping up its pressure on China in various areas through tariffs, activities in Greenland and Panama, among others. This appears to be largely driven by Secretary of State Marco Rubio leadership. And historically, U.S. policy toward China has always had a dual nature, engagement and balancing. Unlike the Biden administration, which led toward dividing the world along ideological lines like democracy versus autocracy, the Trump administration shows more a willingness to deal with rivals, which is a little bit problematic. It is not impossible that such transactional diplomacy could be also applied to China. So officials in the Trump administration, especially in the Department of Defense, have focused on military cooperation and balancing against China very much. And while President Trump emphasized economic and societal aspects of competition with China, his reluctance to engage in military conflict has led to concerns in Japan about the credibility of U.S. deterrence if deterrence were to fail. Additionally, there is anxiety in Japan, persistent anxiety in Japan, like in 1990s, or at least date backs to the 1990s, that the United States and China might reach a deal over Japan's head. So possibly on terms that Tokyo could not fully support. So furthermore, there are some doubts that about the effectiveness of current economic measures targeting China, because interdependence has the potential to strengthen economic leverage. The fundamental commitment to unextended deterrence will remain intact because, amid threats from North Korea and China, extended deterrence is vital for Japan, including the United States nuclear umbrella. So Japan and the United States have institutionalized mechanisms such as regular extended deterrence dialogues and issued the guidelines for extended deterrence in December last year. President Trump himself stated clearly that we will extend the full strength of American deterrence capabilities and the defense of our friend and ally 100%, he said. So while Trump administration may continue to press allies for greater contribution in the name of fairness, any move to cast doubts on extended deterrence would damage its credibility, ultimately undermining deterrence against China's aggression for this. So for this reason, the commitment is expected to hold. While such demands may strengthen allied defense capabilities and cohesion in the short term, but in the long term, of course, they risk damaging trust among allies. The reputational cost of the United States, the current administration's statements and actions, especially toward European allies, could be significant among Indo-Pacific partners as well. And Prime Minister Ishiba stated that, it's quote, Japan decides its defense budget on its own, not based on requests from other countries. And Chief Cabinet Secretary Hayashi similarly remarked that, quote, what matters is the content of the defense capabilities, not the amount or GDP ratio. So in addition to financial contribution, Japan has highlighted its provision of bases and its legal reforms enabling that exercise of collective self-defense. So these measures reinforce the mutual nature of U.S.-Japan alliance and suggest a steady course rather than a reactionary surge in spending. There are signs of gradual change in the posture of U.S. forces in Japan. The reorganization of U.S. forces Japan into a joint headquarters is underway, with adjustments in personnel and command structure already being discussed. So although the joint force headquarters in Japan will not hold comprehensive operational authority, it is expected to play a key role in enhancing coordination with Japan's newly established Joint Operations Command. And while there is no indication of a large-scale troop reduction as seen in the past debates, the current trend appears to prioritize the reinforcement of deterrence. The multilateral defense cooperation framework in the Indo-Pacific region has been preserved well. For example, the Quad is evolving into a foundational for cooperation among democratic countries in the Indo-Pacific, with institutionalization progressing across diplomacy, economic, and defense as well. So at the same time, Japan is strengthening bilateral and minilateral ties with countries such as ASEAN members, even in frameworks that do not include the United States. But moving forward, Japan will likely continue building a multi-layered network centered on the U.S.-Japan alliance. The development or deployment of European allies or European naval vessels and the conduct of joint exercise contribute directly to regional deterrence and are reviewed positively as signs of shared strategic interest and commitment to upholding the international order in this region. Maybe one of the most crucial issues for Japan is ensuring the effectiveness of the newly established Joint Operations Command within the JSDF. And closer coordination with the U.S. Joint Force headquarters newly will be established in Japan is essential to modernize command and control, enhance readiness, and improve intelligence sharing. The development of long-range missile capabilities we have, including standoff missile capabilities, will also be a key step toward autonomous defense. But unified implementation of policy, strategy, and operation will be critical to success, I think.